I was walking across the lawn when Tessa, my younger sister, yanked the crutch out of my hand. Her scream tore across the yard. "Stop pretending. Everyone knows you're just clinging to Mom and Dad's money." I collapsed onto the damp grass. My knee slammed into the ground. A sharp pain shot through my back like someone had sliced it open. And then, the laughter came. Aunt Cheryl lifted her phone to record. A few cousins cheered like they were watching some kind of entertainment. The way they looked at me wasn't pity. It was the way you look at a fraud who just got exposed. I wanted to explain, to scream that this wasn't some performance. But my throat tightened. The more they laughed, the smaller I felt, as if my pain was a comedy show for the whole family. What hurt the most wasn't the fall, but the fact that someone had been watching from afar, the one person who knew the truth, and that person was about to say 6 words that could flip the entire party on its head. Before I tell you, what happened right after the fall that made the whole yard go silent? Tell me where you're watching this from. Which city? What time? I read every comment, because I want to know who is still here with me in this moment. Now then, let's go back to that afternoon, to the moment when a single voice was enough to change everything. Tessa pointed at me in front of the entire extended family, and the whole backyard seemed to hold its breath. The Savannah afternoon sun poured over the grass, where everyone had gathered around the BBQ table to celebrate my father's birthday. The air had been cheerful, until Tessa Caldwell, my sister, shot to her feet. Her voice sliced straight into my chest. "Emery, stop pretending. Everyone knows you're faking your injury to squeeze money out of our parents." Everything around me slowed down. The clink of spoon against glass, the crackle of meat on the grill, and then the whispers. Aunt Cheryl May immediately lifted her phone, her face lit with delight, as if this was the main event of the party. I stood frozen. The heat of the sun didn't hurt nearly as much as the words coming from my own sister. Then another person jumped in to accuse me, turning me into the centerpiece for the crowd's judgment. Dalton, my cousin, spoke first. "I saw her last week at that clinic. No crutch. Walking normally." Everly chimed in right away, her voice dripping with amusement. "She probably thinks we're stupid." I tried to open my mouth. That was a therapy session. Enough. Aunt Cheryl's voice was sharp, her phone still recording without pause. I looked toward my mother. Jolene twisted her glass of iced tea with both hands, hiding inside her own silence. And my father, Martin, kept laughing with the neighbors, flipping the grilled meat as if he hadn't heard a thing. No one said, "Stop." No one asked me, "Are you okay?" In the heavy, sweltering air, I felt completely alone. Beside me, Kelsey Monroe, my only close friend present, gently placed her hand on my arm. Her eyes sharpened, and very quietly, she pulled out her phone and began recording. No words, no theatrics, just silent protection, until someone stepped out from the shade, and his silence shifted the entire atmosphere. At the edge of the yard, where the wooden porch cast a long shadow across the ground, a familiar figure appeared. Dr. Cole Harrington, my physical therapist, a friend of the family. He crossed his arms. His eyes didn't leave the crowd. He didn't intervene. He didn't say a word. But his presence, calm in a way that felt almost cutting, split the air in half. Tessa recognized him. Dalton did too. I felt my heart tighten for a moment, unsure whether it was hope or fear. "Doctor." Harrington stepped one pace out of the shade. His shoes tapped lightly against the wooden step. His face came fully into the afternoon light. The entire yard fell silent. Everyone looked at him. And I knew, whatever came next would change everything. He opened his mouth, and what he was about to say would flip the entire party upside down. The misunderstanding began with a moment Tessa never saw in full. Doctor. Cole Harrington's therapy room always carried a faint smell of antiseptic and the steady hum of machines. Like the breathing of a room growing old with time. I remember the harsh fluorescent lights above, making everything painfully sharp. In that memory, I gripped the metal training bars, my hands trembling with every beat. Deep breath. Emery. Doctor. Harrington's voice was always calm, like a rope keeping me tethered each time my legs wanted to give up. I lifted my right leg. One shaky step. Then my left. Heat. Burning. Numbness. Pain. All blending into a wave of dizziness that forced me to stop and breathe. I wasn't pretending. I had never pretended. There was only one time I managed to stand for a few seconds, and Tessa turned my entire life into an accusation. That day, Tessa passed by the therapy room. The glass door reflected her face, eyes wide, the mouth slightly open, when she saw me standing without my crutch. She didn't see Dr. Harrington standing right beside me, his hand gripping the support frame. She didn't hear him say, "All right. Hold tight. Don't let go." Tessa only saw one fragment of the truth, and she turned that fragment into a story. She's not injured at all. She's just acting to get attention. Since we were kids, Tessa had always been the more responsible one, the one who helped more, and the one who sacrificed for the family. She believed it so fully that when I fell apart in my own life, Tessa saw nothing but a chance to prove she was right. Jealousy wasn't new. It had simply found an excuse to ignite. I never forgot the look in my mother Joleni's eyes when the rumors about me started spreading through the family. She would fix her dress, fix her hair, then force a small smile. "Don't make a fuss, Emery. People will talk and then forget." And Martin, my father, always clung to one line. "I just want peace in this house." Peace. Two words that became the perfect excuse for every time they stood by and watched Tessa tear me apart. Southern families value image. So much so that they were willing to let me stand alone, as long as the neighbors thought the Caldwell household was still happy. Even when I collapsed, they chose silence to preserve the family's reputation. I remember the first day I met Dr. Harrington. He didn't say much. He studied my injury file for so long I thought he was judging me. But when he finally looked up, there was no judgment in his eyes. Only truth. He saw what my family never cared to see. I was trying to keep living inside a body that had betrayed me. He was the only one who said, "Emery, we may not heal everything, but I will walk with you until you can stand as strong as possible." That's why, when he stood on the porch today, I knew he wasn't there by accident. Beside me, Kelsey Monroe still gripped her phone tightly. She didn't tremble, didn't fear, and didn't step back. When Tessa screamed the first accusation, Kelsey had already lifted her phone. Not to post. Not for views. She recorded because she knew. The truth needed to be captured. Unlike my family, Kelsey had never left my side for even a second. In a world full of people eager to judge, I had one person who actually listened. The sounds of the backyard grew harsh. Laughter, whispers, and phones buzzing as someone started live streaming. My every breath felt heavy as lead. Aunt Cheryl zoomed her camera in on my face like she was hunting for a headline. Dalton folded his arms, confident in his fabricated story. Everly smirked as if she had already won a battle no one asked her to fight. The sun beat down on my back, scorching hot. Sweat slid down my neck. My arm holding the crutch trembled. I thought I might fall again. And then, Dr. Harrington stepped fully out of the porch. His eyes locked onto Tessa. Not angry. Just a calm so sharp it was almost chilling. He drew in a long breath. And the very next moment, he spoke. The moment he stepped onto the porch, The entire backyard went silent, like it swallowed its own voice. The Savannah afternoon sun fell into long streaks across the patio, glinting against the wooden door as Dr. Cole Harrington stepped out from the Caldwell porch. He didn't speak immediately. He stood tall, holding his phone, his eyes sweeping over each person, as if choosing who had enough courage to look directly at the truth. Martin, my father, froze mid-cut with the brisket knife. Dalton, my cousin, swallowed hard. And Tessa, still clutching her lemonade, her hand visibly shaking. Then Dr. Harrington spoke, his voice low and firm, every word dropping like a verdict. She isn't faking. And I can prove it. The entire yard turned to stone. He opened the video, and everything they had laughed at appeared. Dr. Harrington lifted his phone. The screen glowed cold. There I was, in his therapy room, my left leg trembling violently as if fighting the weight of my entire body. My breath is coming in broken fragments. My fingers gripped the training bar so tightly the knuckles had turned white. No one said a word. Only the soft Georgia cicadas murmured outside. A distant aunt exhaled sharply. Everly, my cousin, shoved her phone into her pocket as if terrified anyone might catch her recording more. Tessa stood frozen. All the color drained from her face. That wasn't even the part that scared them the most. When the video ended, the entire BBQ yard felt pulled taut. Jolene, my mother, covered her mouth with her hand, unable to look at me. Martin turned his face away, his jaw tightening with embarrassment. Aunt Cheryl, the one who had laughed the loudest when I fell, stiffened for a half-second, then quietly deleted the clip from her own phone. It felt like someone had turned the entire party table 90 degrees. Every pair of eyes no longer looked at me as the faker. They looked at themselves. For the first time, Tessa had no one standing behind her. I just thought you were exaggerating, Tessa said, her voice high but hollow. No one supported her. No one nodded. Dalton glanced at her, then looked away. Everly bit her lip. All the relatives stood in a silent, awkward circle, the kind of silence that leaves a person painfully isolated. Tessa looked around, searching for someone to defend her, but not a single hand reached out. I was still leaning on my crutches, my leg aching, but my eyes no longer avoided theirs. My breathing steadied. The family scene, once a battlefield, suddenly felt smaller, shrinking, as if it no longer had the power to swallow me whole. I said nothing, and that silence made Tessa tremble more than any words I could have thrown back. Then Dr. Harrington added one more sentence, and the whole family went pale. I have complete medical documentation, he continued, his voice level, solid like granite. If needed, I will provide it. This time, the silence wasn't just silence. It was the silence of being caught. Aunt Cheryl lowered her head. Everly turned away. Martin suddenly found something important to do at the grill, avoiding everyone's eyes. Tessa stammered. I didn't know, But her words collapsed into a sharp breath when she realized no one was standing with her anymore. Emery turned away, and that's when Tessa almost screamed. I turned, walking slowly but steadily on my crutches. The corner of the yard filtered the last of the afternoon sunlight, creating a path of gold like an exit. Emery. Don't go. Tessa's voice cracked, not out of concern, but from a deeper fear. She had lost her power. I didn't get the chance to answer before Kelsey placed her hand on my shoulder. Gentle but firm. Don't look back. And I didn't. When I turned my back, no one followed me. Not a single person. The late Savannah sunlight spread like a layer of amber honey across the patio as I walked away on my crutches. No more laughter. No more mocking looks. Only a thick, heavy silence. The kind that makes you hear your own heartbeat louder than the cicadas. Kelsey walked close beside me, her hand ready to steady me. Behind me, I heard Tessa's panicked stammer. "Emery. Wait for me." I didn't stop. The heat from the grill rose against my back, the smell of burnt meat mixing with the burning in my chest. A family party, where I had never once felt like family. Tessa hurried ahead, stepping in front of me. Her eyes were wet, her voice struggling to hold itself together. I just wanted to protect Mom and Dad. I paused, gripping my crutches tighter. "Tessa," I said slowly, clearly, "I understand your pressure. But what you did today was your choice." She trembled. "I saw you standing without your crutches. I thought, I cut in. And you turned a thought into a conclusion." A light breeze passed between us, carrying a feeling like a final door slamming shut. I glanced over her shoulder. Martin bent over the grill, pretending to be busy. Jolene stood frozen by the table, her hands twisted together, but she didn't move toward me. Aunt Cheryl stared at the ground as if searching for something there. Everly fixed her hair. Dalton crossed his arms and looked anywhere but at me. No one called my name. No one stepped forward. The pain wasn't in the betrayal, but in realizing no one had ever been listening. When I stepped past the wooden gate, I knew I was leaving a place that was no longer home. "Doctor?" Harrington's car rolled through the quiet street. Through the window, Savannah's streetlights stretched into long gold lines, reflecting across my face. Pale, tired, but clearer than ever. Savannah Memorial had the cold smell of antiseptic. Nurses' shoes clicked against the floor. Doors opened and closed in steady rhythm. After examining me, Harrington said, "Nothing else is fractured. But you need rest." I nodded. But what needed healing wasn't just my spine. "I know someone," Kelsey said as we left the clinic. "A lawyer. A very good one." Her name was Lydia Price. Her voice over the phone was sharp and steady, without a wasted beat. After hearing the whole story, Lydia said only, "Emery, this is clear defamation and harassment. You have video, witnesses, and medical records. If you want, well, proceed." I looked down at my legs, still trembling slightly. "I want to do it," I said. "I'm going to sue Tessa." Kelsey placed her hand on my shoulder. She didn't say a word, but it was enough to remind me I wasn't alone. My phone vibrated. "Mom." Her voice was thin, almost breaking. "Emery, don't sue your sister. Please. The family will fall apart." I stood in the hospital hallway, the white lights casting a flat reflection over my face. Steady, no longer shaking. "Mom," I said, "the family fell apart a long time ago. Today, everyone just happened to see it." She said nothing, then hung up. That night, I opened my laptop. A blank blog page appeared. Wide, empty, and more honest than any conversation I had ever had with my family. I leaned back in the chair, taking a slow breath. If they wouldn't believe my words, I would let the truth speak for itself. I typed the first line. That morning, the knocking on the door wasn't from my family, but from an investigator. 3 firm knocks echoed across the Caldwell front porch, sharp enough to make the entire entryway hold its breath. Tessa opened the door, and when she saw the man in a pale blue shirt standing in front of her, she actually stepped back. Detective Samuel Rhodes, Chatham County Police Department. His eyes sharp, cold, but unwavering. "Miss Tessa Caldwell." Tessa swallowed. Yes." Rhodes opened a small notebook. "I'm here to investigate allegations of causing harm to a person with mobility limitations and defamation." A few neighbors stood near the wooden gate, whispering under their breath. Tessa's face flushed bright red, like she'd been dragged into the middle of a public square. Rhodes continued. We've seen the video. The victim is Emery Caldwell. You will need to cooperate. Tessa shook her head rapidly. No. I didn't know it was that serious. But Rhoda's expression didn't budge. Truth doesn't need belief. It only needs to be recorded. While Tessa trembled at the door, Emery signed a document that would change her entire life. Lydia Price's office sat inside an old red brick building in downtown Savannah. Inside, the air smelled of new paper and strong coffee. Lydia set a thick stack of files onto the desk. Emery, these are the 3 main charges, she said, pushing her glasses up her nose. Defamation, harassment, emotional damages. On top of that, public humiliation of a person with mobility limitations. I held the pen, my hand trembling slightly. Not from fear. From release. Kelsey sat beside me, her eyes steady as steel. You're not alone, she whispered. I signed. The ink spread cleanly, like it was drawing a boundary between me and the people who once called themselves my family. My phone buzzed nonstop. Mom, 10 missed calls. Dad, 4 missed calls. Martin Caldwell. Let me talk to your sister. Don't make this a big deal. They didn't ask if I was okay. They only wanted the scandal to disappear from their wealthy neighborhood. I turned off my phone. For the first time in my life, silence was the right choice. And then, the video Kelsey recorded began exploding online. That night, Kelsey sent me the link. 2.4 million views, number justice for Emery, number believe disabled people, number Caldwell family. The clip of Tessa yanking my crutch. Her twisted expression, her shrill voice, spread across TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit. Someone commented, if anyone ever wonders why disabled people are afraid to speak up, this is why. Another comment, where's the family? Why didn't anyone stop that girl? The name Caldwell started appearing in Savannah community groups. Messages poured into my inbox. Not pity, but support. And on the other side of the city, the Caldwell house shut its curtains tight. The next day, Tessa received an email from Savannah Green Logistics. The company cannot continue its partnership due to severe damage to organizational reputation. Tessa froze in the middle of the living room. Her friends, the ones who appeared in every one of her stories, suddenly fell silent. The glass of lemonade on the table slipped off and shattered. It was the sound of a life being ripped out of its shell. The family finally became truly scared. But none of them dared to face me. That afternoon, I received an envelope. The handwriting was rounded, soft, and slightly shaky. Emery, I was wrong. Not because I'm afraid of the public. Because I'm genuinely ashamed of myself. I read each line slowly. I didn't forgive, but I acknowledged it. In a family that chooses silence, at least one person told the truth. My phone lit up again. This time a message from Lydia Price. Emery, there's one more thing you need to see. A piece of evidence. More important than the video. I stared at the screen. My chest tightened. Part of me was ready. Another part. I never imagined I would go this far. The evidence Lydia sent weighed heavier than the video. Lydia's email arrived when the morning light was still pale. Just one line. Open it. Inside were therapy records, MRI scans, neurological assessments, and detailed notes from every single session with Dr. Harrington. No one could ever call me a faker after seeing that much proof. Kelsey read beside me, her eyes darkening. Emery, this could end every argument. I nodded. Not because I wanted revenge, but because finally, the truth had its own voice. And then, Savannah began talking about the Caldwell family. At Publix, a woman pushed her cart in a wide circle to avoid Jolene. At church, the pastor shook Martin's hand with a strange, distant look. The golf club they once bragged about went quiet the moment they walked in. No criticism. No defense. Just distance. Cold. Clear. Undeniable. Tessa's apartment felt like a room with no exits. Her phone lit up nonstop. "Are you the one who grabbed the crutch? Did you see the video? That was awful." Friends disappeared from group chats, and coworkers unfollowed. The logistics company sent an official contract termination. Tessa sat in the middle of her bed, hands gripping her head. No more cheering. No more laughter. Only the truth. And the silence she created herself. Late afternoon, there was a knock. I opened the door just a crack. Jolene stood there, her face pale like she had just run through rain. Martin kept his head down, avoiding my eyes. "Emery," she whispered. "The family were in big trouble. Could you withdraw the complaint?" I didn't open the door wider. I didn't invite them in. "You're here to save your reputation," I said. "Not to save me." Martin pressed his lips together, unable to deny it. For the first time, I looked at them and felt no guilt. "I'm not carrying anyone's image anymore," I said. My voice is calm, steady, unafraid. Jolene tried to step closer, but I shook my head gently. The door remained only half open, the same way they had kept me half outside for years. They left slowly. Their shadows stretched across the hallway, distorted like a memory I no longer needed to hold on to. Local news ran the headline: "Disabled woman, humiliated by family. Community speaks out." A talk show invited Tessa to appear and apologize. She agreed. I declined. I wasn't turning my pain into a stage. Savannah kept talking, and the district council requested a formal explanation from the Caldwell family. Reputation, the thing they always put above me, had finally become their judge. At 9:18 p.m., an email arrived from the Georgia Disability Alliance. "We would like to publish your blog. Your story could help those who have never been believed." I stared at the screen. My chest tightened as if someone had turned a key inside me. For the first time, my story wasn't just for survival. It was to light the way for someone else. That morning, for the first time, silence wasn't frightening anymore. Savannah's sunlight slipped through the faded curtains, falling across the floor like a soft layer of calm over the apartment. No more frantic messages. No more calls demanding I fix the family situation. Just warm coffee and the feeling of no longer needing to brace myself. I breathed deeply. No pain, just clarity. Dr. Harrington's clinic was the same. Cool, bright, and steady. But when I stepped in, he watched my posture a little longer than usual. "Emery," he smiled. "You're lighter." I answered softly. Maybe because I stopped trying to prove myself to people who don't want to believe. He didn't add anything else. Just a small nod. And it felt like someone was quietly realigning the bricks inside me that had been out of place for years. In the afternoon, I opened my laptop. The list of emails was unexpectedly long. A mother from Oregon wrote, "Thank you for speaking for my daughter." A veteran in Texas wrote, "I've never dared tell anyone about the humiliation I went through until I read your story." A college student from New Jersey wrote, "I always thought I was the only one they called a faker." I leaned back in my chair. For the first time, it felt like my voice was being truly heard. That evening, my phone lit up. "Tessa, Emery, I was wrong. You didn't deserve any of that. I'm sorry." I read every word. No bitterness. No satisfaction. Just an understanding that I no longer had a reason to return to a bond that once squeezed the air out of my lungs. I set the phone down, letting the message fall into silence. The next morning, an old envelope lay beneath my door. Inside, a photo of me as a child. Smiling brightly, ice cream smeared on my hand. Behind the photo was a shaky handwritten line. "I'm sorry I didn't stand by you." I touched the corner of the picture. No tears. No blame. Just lightness. As if someone had returned a piece of childhood I thought I'd lost forever. That night, I walked along the riverfront with Kelsey. The Savannah River breeze brushed against my jacket. "You're changing," Kelsey said. "And it's beautiful." I looked at the lights shimmering on the water. For the first time, I'm living for myself, not reacting to someone else. An email arrived at 9:12 p.m. Georgia Disability Alliance. "We would like to invite you to speak at our statewide event. Your story could create real change." I read it twice. A new door had opened, and this time, I was ready to walk through it. Behind the curtains, I realized I wasn't speaking to be believed anymore, but so someone else could feel seen. I stood backstage at the Georgia Disability Awareness Conference. The stage light swept softly across the room, reflecting off the black drapes in front of me. The quiet murmurs of hundreds of people drifted like a warm current. Kelsey touched my elbow. "You're ready." I nodded. My breath skipped for half a beat, but my heart was steady. When I stepped out, the entire room fell silent as if someone had muted the world. "I used to believe silence was how you kept the peace," I began. But then I learned, silence only hides the things that need to be spoken. I told them about the doubtful stares, the fall on the grass, and the silence of the people who carried the Caldwell name. Not with bitterness, not with blame, just truth, bare and gentle. "Healing," I said, "is not returning to the place that hurt you. It's choosing a different direction." When I paused, there was one full second where no one moved, and then the entire room rose. The applause surged like waves hitting the shore, strong, wide, and no longer turned away from me. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. "If you've ever been doubted," I said, as if speaking inwardly, "I know how deeply that pain cuts. If your family ever made you shrink, you are not alone. You deserve to be believed, even when they don't understand you." I looked toward the light ahead, as if I were looking straight at you. Have you ever experienced something like Emery? Share your story. I read every single comment. Hit like and subscribe so I can continue telling you more meaningful and powerful stories. See you in the next video.